You know, there are several ways to honor Black History Month here in Idaho. Maybe you've seen the banners hanging on lampposts in downtown Boise commemorating the month. Meriwether Cider is doing something suited to their abilities. They're making a special cider in a partnership with the Idaho Black History Museum. It's an idea that's been a couple years in the making, but as a lot of us have realized, this pandemic pivoting thing we've all had to do tends to get the creative juices flowing again. And those juices, well, they're turning into Jupiter's Cider, named after Jupiter Evans, a slave who was owned by Thomas Jefferson, third president of the United States. There weren't extensive records kept on specific slaves, but based on Jupiter's status at Monticello and the fact that cider was a prevalent libation back in colonial days, Meriwether made that historical leap to not only learn about who drank it, but rather who was likely making it.
So if you look at history and you look at agricultural systems and you look at a lot of the systems we have in the U.S., almost all of them are somewhat rooted in slavery. And so we knew that cider making is not an exception. And so Jupiter is kind of the only one that we could find. It's not even that he was one of the highest in Jefferson's household. And so almost certainly the process of cider making fell to him.
What you want is for people to not only enjoy the cider, but learn something about the history of it and this country.
Yes, that's exactly right. So all of the proceeds from Jupiter Cider are being donated to the Idaho Black History Museum, but that's not the only part of what we're trying to do. We definitely want to bring the history out, just remind people, because it's hard to know what you don't know, and so to have us who are professionals in cider be able to say, hey, this is another thing to just understand about our history, something that's not necessarily taught in the history books.
100% of those proceeds from those $20 bottles will go to the Idaho Black History Museum. Meriwether's making this Jupiter's Cider with Newton Pippin apples, one of Thomas Jefferson's favorites, and they say were grown at Monticello. It's also a single varietal, unlike their usual flavors that Meriwether makes. They're also using a similar method used to add soft bubbles to champagne, and if you find any of that fascinating, you're going to want to attend the Zoom event that they have planned for Friday, a guided tasting of Jupiter's Cider. Philip Thompson from the Black History Museum will also be on hand to give some historical context of contributions made by Black Americans. Information on how to be a part of that is also in this story at ktvb.com.